Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, Gambian authorities send buses to the borders to help nationals heading home after the end of a political standoff. The new president's still in Senegal, but security preparations are underway in the hopes of getting Adama Barrow back in the country over the coming days. Also, we hear from the country director of Nigeria's Mary Stopes Sexual Health Clinics. We ask about the impact to the continent and the country of the new US president's reenactment of the infamous global gag policy, stopping funding to foreign charities giving advice on abortion. And we turn to Niger, a uranium-rich country that's nevertheless one of the world's poorest. Youth employment there is a big problem, feeding into growing recruitment rates of jobless young men by extremist groups. But first, the way is being paved for the return of Gambia's new leader, Adama Barrow. Now, he is still in Senegal, where he was inaugurated on the 19th of January amidst a political crisis at home. Regional troops from the ECOWAS regional bloc are working on securing the Gambian capital to make sure it's safe for Barrow to return. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, Banjul ended the week-old state of emergency brought in under former President Yahya Jammeh. And Parliament also revoked a 3-month extension to Jammeh's term, approved as he tried to hang on to power. Barrow's predecessor has since headed into exile in Equatorial Guinea, and thousands who left the country during the unrest are excitedly heading back home, as our correspondents found out.
The midnight rush to Banjul. Hundreds of Gambian refugees back from Senegal are hurrying to catch one of the last ferry shuttles headed to the capital. Since the departure from power of dictator Yahya Jammeh from the Gambia, an endless stream of passengers have kept the ferry service running uninterrupted for 24 hours a day. Among these former refugees, Ishaka is delighted to be back in a country finally free of its dictator.
I left 1 week ago, and then it was difficult. It was not my choice to go. But if you look at the kids with the women and the babies, and you have the feeling that, okay, I cannot leave these people unsafe to be here.
A crossing to Banjul in the company of Senegalese soldiers, which made up the main contingent of troops sent by ECOWAS. Soldiers, but also equipment and supplies aboard this ferry for what could be a long-term operation. The new president is expected here in this palace, protected by the West African forces and under the gaze of young Gambians like Amori, eager to celebrate the return of Adama Barrow.
Oh, it will be amazing. Yeah, every Gambians are happy now. We are free now. We can talk anyhow we want.
La Gambie a choisi un slogan sur des t-shirts imprimés par milliers pour la fête qui se prépare.
Now I tell many people, when Adama Barrow come, anybody put this one, welcome Adama Barrow.
A long-awaited return that still hasn't been announced in the Gambia, a country once known as the Smiling Coast.
A UN peacekeeper has been killed and 2 others seriously wounded in a mortar attack at a camp in northern Mali. It happened at Agalhok near the Algerian border. The 13,000 troops serving in the UN's MINUSMA force in the country are considered to be on one of the deadliest of the world's peacekeeping missions. Now, healthcare organizations across Africa have started speaking up about their concerns about Donald Trump stopping US aid funding to foreign NGOs offering women advice on abortion. Known as the Mexico City policy or global gag policy, it prevents USAID from partnering with setups that even discuss the option of terminating pregnancies with their clients. Trump is the latest Republican president to reenact the policy since it was first brought in 1984 under Ronald Reagan. Now, Mary Stopes International is one of the organizations that's relied on USAID funding to offer contraceptive services to millions of disadvantaged communities across Africa. It's made it clear that it can't agree to the conditions of the global gag. I'm now joined by the Nigerian country director. Ephraim, thanks very much for speaking to us. Now, you're concerned that the policy is just going to make things worse for women. How exactly so?
Thank you, Georgia. The policy is a counterproductive and harmful policy. Sub-Saharan Africa had higher abortion rates after Bush reinstated the gag order. And because essentially it reduces the woman's access to contraception, which of course leads to unintended pregnancies. So this is just going to happen all over again. The USAID funding in Nigeria and its work through MySoap Nigeria has been largely around supporting and strengthening government systems and ability to deliver quality family planning contraceptives, which allows women to space their children rightly and also strengthen their family economy and the health of their family. Now, this work has been largely and hugely important to Nigeria as a country. And with this fund not being available, I wonder what this solves, really. It's just taking away the right of the women to make the choice to a good life.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Mary Stopes has made it very clear that it can't accept the money because it can't accept the terms of the policy. How is that going to impact the work that you do?
Well, USAID has been the largest major funder, like I said, of MySoap's work in the public sector. And it's in the last 3 years, through this funding, we have trained over 2,200 healthcare providers to deliver quality family planning methods in some of the remotest, fragile, and underserved regions, states in Nigeria. Now, you can see this work shrinking without this funding. And from our own projection, we're seeing a situation where within the next, between 2017 and 2020, we expect that over 1.8 million unintended pregnancies will have happened in Nigeria, about 660,000 abortions, and over 10,000 maternal deaths. In terms of cost savings, this will have lost the government of Nigeria close to 70.8 million pounds in direct costs to the country. So it's going to be very impactful to the country, and especially at this time when we're trying to move our contraceptive prevalence rate upwards.
And is there anyone else you can turn to make up for the shortfall that will come from USAID pulling out?
Well, key to our strategy as a program has been around sustainability. And we've been working around this different strategy, how to talk to other partners to probably increase their funding and bridge this gap. But like I said, this is a huge loss to the country and also to the program. But continuously, we would remain resolute in our ability to provide quality family planning to the women of Nigeria as best as we can.
Thanks very much, Ephraim there, the country director of the Marie Stopes Centre. Well, we turn to Niger now, a uranium-rich country that nevertheless remains one of the world's poorest nations. Youth unemployment there is a major problem and feeds into growing recruitment rates of jobless young men by extremist groups. Nicolas Jammeh takes a closer look.
Hassan Soumaila has been unemployed for 2 years. Every day he comes to Niamey's main job centre, but he's yet to find work.
Even when you have a degree, you just wait and wait for a job. There are basically no job offers for young people. It's really hard to find a job.
Niger is uranium-rich, but it's also one of the world's poorest nations. And for several years it has been targeted by two jihadist groups, Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram. These groups sometimes try to recruit Niger's numerous unemployed young men. But another consequence of the jihadist attacks is the boom in the private security industry.
For 2 years after my master's degree, I was unemployed. I tried to do small jobs. I looked for internships, but couldn't find any. Then I found myself here, and after my training, I found a job as a security guard, so I'm slowly getting on my feet.
There are already some 200 private security firms in Niger. Another economic resource for the country are the 610 million euros recently offered by the EU. In exchange, Niger has to curb the number of migrants who try and reach Europe.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again in 45 minutes. Take care.